Welcome to today's video. We are going to be looking at 4 of the main things that you should check before you buy any Pokemon cards on eBay. Now these 4 things will ensure that you don't get scammed, that your cards actually arrive in the post, and you also get what you think you paid for. You don't want to be buying cards that were listed as one thing, or they were falsely advertised. You want to make sure that you get exactly what you want and that you have rightly paid for. So I'm actually going to head into the eBay platform itself. Now I've started my search with the classic. I've gone for the Charizard. It's one of our favourite Pokemon, so let's start there. And I've put on buy it now, and we're just going to walk through some of these listings just for some of the things that you should be aware of. And I've opened a couple of tabs as a good example. So the first one we're going to take a look at is this listing here. Now the first thing you should always check is the price, and it goes without saying that you should ensure that you cross compare that with other cards on the market. And the best way that you can do that, if you want to get a truly fair price, is to look at the recently sold. And doing so on desktop is relatively easy. All you need to do is type in the name of the card you're looking at. So I know that this is from the base set, so I'm putting in the base set number here. Advanced, we're going to go sold listings. I'm going to hit search. Now that card was up for £125. Now you do need to look closely to ensure you are comparing like for like. So this is a proxy card, for instance, which essentially means a fake card. So you need to compare like for like. So here's another card. It looks to be of a similar, of the same set and of a similar nature, and it's gone for £150. So first and foremost, this looks like, and that was sold today. Today's date is the 29th of April. At the time of filming. So yes, we know that looks to be, a card has sold at that price. So this looks to be, it passes that first test. The second thing you need to do is to check the condition. Now some sellers will put that in the title itself, but other times you will need to check the pictures. Now here's a quick thing to be aware of. Some sellers, rightly or wrongly, I'm not blaming anyone here, will use acronyms and things that may be overlooked by new buyers or could be a little bit deceiving. HP, that stands for heavily played. You wouldn't know that if you were maybe a new buyer, particularly when you've got things such as the HP in terms of the game aspect of Pokemon cards. So just be aware of things like that. And, some of the acronyms, they can really catch you off guard, especially if you want to buy a card quickly. But as I was saying, you want to check the condition of the card. So first and foremost, this looks, first card looks pretty good. Great. I mean, there's some snagging here, heavily played maybe. I've noticed in the title, not everyone would, but you might think, oh, that's not too bad. It just really doesn't look like heavily played. You got some scratches. It looks more lightly played, maybe moderately played. But the last picture is where we see the heavily played. And this is perhaps one of the best tips I can give, is always see the back of the card. The back of the card is really the true illustration of the condition, and this is where a lot of cards really fail to live up to their condition. So make sure you can check the back of the card, and if you can't, then contact the seller. Ask them for pictures. You should never buy a card without knowing what it's actually going to look like, because you've got no rights or grounds to complain if you don't question. Thankfully with eBay and money back guarantee you should be okay, but it will just save you a lot of hassle, stress, and the pain of losing money to wait for it to come back and all of that. So always check the back of the card, reach out, contact the seller. And I would really recommend that you always contact the seller before making a purchase. It takes a little bit of time, but if you build relationships with some of these guys, you'll be surprised at some of the deals you can get. You might be able to put in a best offer. You might be able to, there's things that can be done to lower the price. So always, I would always recommend contacting the seller if you do have the time to do so. Now the next thing to check, the third thing, is the seller's information. Now you can see here that this individual, I'm sorry Lloyd Tyler for calling you out here, I really don't mean to. What you want to look for over here is positive feedback, and to be fair, Lloyd, fair play, 14,110 feedback and 100% positive. So this is a a good seller, reputable seller. But this is what you need to do. You need to check these kind of things, and I would always edge on the side of caution here. In my experiences, anything under 98% is a red flag, and one way you can actually check what's behind the feedback is by clicking on the seller. And there are a few negatives here, but if you look at this, that is an overwhelmingly positive experience from the buyer. So you can trust this person or this company wholeheartedly. I would have thought that, of course, there's always bad experiences. Sometimes buyers can't be pleased. But yeah, this looks like a really good seller. But this is the kind of thing you want to do. You want to come into the store or the individual, and you want to check their feedback. And if they have a lot of negative, look at what it is. Click it and see. So, not as described and refused. Well, I'm not gonna judge here. But this is the kind of thing you can do. You can look at exactly what the feedback is, when it was, and you can see almost what the seller also has said back. So always check this here, particularly if there is no feedback or negative. If there's negative feedback, or this isn't under 98% or so. If there is no feedback at all, again, everyone's got to start somewhere on eBay and start selling. But it's a risk. You have to consider that it is always a risk. Particularly if they've got one or two items up, particularly if these heavy, these expensive items. I wouldn't personally purchase from a new seller unless they were selling something at, a lot cheaper than this, or they were very good in contact, or they had lots of items up for sale, or they just look like a genuine person. So just something to consider there. Now the last thing to check is the description. Now you have to be very careful with the description, so the specifics and the description itself. And the reason why you have to be very careful is because not all sellers will be honest and genuine. They might leave some key information about the card out of the title, or they might just, as I say, back to the acronyms, it might be a little bit confusing unless you check the description. So always check, and a good seller will talk about the condition. Here, this is great. Look, please just ask, and promotional offers. So it's always worth checking the description. You never know what you're going to find, and the better sellers will have this kind of information and detail. So always check this. You never know what you're going to find. And I've actually got an example of that. Actually, I opened up one earlier. Here's a good one. So this card, obviously $4.99 for its first edition Charizard, just doesn't happen. But it is a proxy card, and it's clear. Obviously, you need to know what the word proxy means, but it's clearly stated in the title. And another, hats off to the seller here. He's not trying to deceive. They are meant for casual play. They are just a cheap and fun non-holo version made. So he's being very fair. That's the kind of thing you need to look for, to be honest. So they're the four main things to check. Obviously, you can do that on any card. I've used Charizard here. But yeah, make sure you check those things. If you have any questions, contact the seller. Ask for extra pictures. A good seller will be happy to provide them. If they're not, then what are they hiding? That kind of thing. And just be sensible about it, and think about it from a, you might lose the odd card here and there by being a little bit cautious, but in the long term, it's worth it. Cards not arriving, it does happen, and it's stressful and it's painful. So as much as you can avoid that, the better. So I hope this video was useful. If it was, please do hit the like button. Drop any comments you have on this approach, or on collecting or buying from eBay in general. Have you had any good experiences, bad experiences? And do subscribe to the channel if this was useful and you want to watch more of my content. I'll be releasing a lot more like this. So I hope you have an excellent day.